And finally, in terms of stuff that was announced last week, probably some of the biggest news came in the form of something we all really wanted: Daredevil getting a second season. Yeah, I am probably, as my good friend Tori GNR1 once said, Daredevil's probably the best superhero adaptation of all time. And he's probably right. Let's face it, we all loved Daredevil. I am hard-pressed to find anyone who did not like the Daredevil Netflix show. It was it was absolutely proof that you can do you can do a lot of serious writing and, do a TV show that that ties in with the movies and still make it, a hard-hitting, gritty noir type show. And, with superheroes as well. And, it's kind of everything Arrow wants to be. Unfortunately, yeah. Like I've said, guys in charge of Arrow, take notes. So the idea of getting something that we were kind of afraid, was it just going to be one season? Or no, it's getting a second season. And Dan and I really talked, toward GNR1 last night, as of this recording, talked a lot about, the prospects of what we could get for a second season. There are so many ideas. Probably the first biggest one is probably more stuff with the Hand and the Shanti Styx group. That's probably what the major focus will be for Season 2, is that we'll get more Hand-centric stuff. And also, Dan came up with a really interesting idea of how Defenders will play out. His idea is that it'll be like a loose version of Shadowland, but instead of Daredevil becoming, this big bad villain, they'll probably have somebody else. That's probably what it's going to be, is that if they might do an adaptation of Shadowland for when they get the Defenders together, and instead of using Daredevil as the head of the Hand, they'll use some other head, the former head of the Hand or whatever. Now, the other question is, what other characters could we see appear in the second season of Daredevil? Obviously, like I've said, the Hand, but the big question is, are we going to get, Elektra? That's someone, if we're going to do more Hand stuff, obviously Elektra is a obvious must, and we had a mention of her already. Plus, the other character I think we all want to see is finally Bullseye make his appearance. Now, a lot of people did say that, oh, we saw Bullseye already, that guy with the gun. Bullseye doesn't use guns. I don't think we've seen him yet, so yeah, Bullseye guns are too easy for him. He likes using his hands. So I'm thinking that probably wasn't Bullseye. But yeah, I'm thinking, Bullseye will probably show up soon in this show. The other characters I'd really like to see in terms of other villains I would really like to see in this series are like, I think it would be really cool to see Mr. Fear. Yeah, Mr. Fear is a character I'd absolutely love to see. I'd also really like to see, Leland Owlsley's son take over as the Owl and become like the comic book version of the Owl we've seen in I'd really like to see him as the Owl we know from the comics, and not like this banker, more like the Owl we know from the comics. Yeah, if the Owl does come back in the form of, Leland Owlsley's son. In terms of other characters, I think it would be really fun to see, Melvin Potter finally become the Gladiator. We did see him last season, and building up that costume, so I think it would be really awesome if we actually had Melvin Potter become the Gladiator finally in this series. I think that would be really awesome. But again, the main thing is Daredevil, and I think the Hand and Elektra are going to be the biggest things this season, and maybe some other stuff with again, hopefully getting Bullseye in here finally in this series. The other thing too is that we have so much to actually build on. Obviously with spoilers here because the show's been out for a while, so I'll spoil this much. Ben Urich's death. That's also Ben Urich's death, that came as a shock to everybody. But not only that, that was proof that, no one except the main character is safe. And even then, that may be saying a lot. Anyone could be killed in this show after that, that death we had. That's kind of proving ground that anyone can bite the dust at any given time. So that's something you really have to look out for, because for all we know, Foggy could be killed next season, or Karen. Well, we know Karen, part of her character is that Karen Page is killed by Bullseye. So here's how I think it's going to play out in terms of seasons, and I've said this before, but how I think it may be playing out in terms of seasons is probably how it's going to play out is, first off, you know, season 2, more hand stuff. I'd be shocked if we had something different. Probably a gang war. That's probably the other thing that would maybe, instead of doing more hand stuff, we get more gang war, because now that Wilson Fisk is behind bars, you know, you could have, you know, Leland Owlsley's son become the Owl and start, you know, making his own crime empire, but have other villains in here too, and you could actually have villains like Hammerhead, Tombstone, and Silvermane, because, you know, Marvel and Sony are so buddy-buddy. So you could actually have, hell, you could even have the Big Man in here. Or make, you know, in terms of Spectacular Spider-Man, make L. Thompson Lincoln, Tombstone, make him the big man. So, that's something I would really like to see, is, like, if not hand stuff, more gang war stuff, and Matt asking himself, did I really do good? Or, you know, because without Fisk, I've now I've created all these gang members and made an open vacuum, and now everyone wants to be the next Kingpin, and I've probably made things worse than ever. And for Season 3, what might Season 3 be, what I'm thinking, or at least how I would make Season 3, is make it, you know, Wilson Fisk is let out of prison, and he sets out to destroy Matt Murdock, and, you know, he pretty much sets out to destroy Daredevil's life, and we get an adaptation of Born Again. That's what I'd really like to see for a season, is an entire season just dedicated to doing an adaptation of Frank Miller's Born Again. But anyway, there's so many things you can do with this. It's an amazing show. I know Drew Goddard is no longer the showrunner, but he did handpick the next showrunners. Yeah, that was the thing, is that even though he left he left the Marvel, he left the Daredevil TV show as showrunner, he did handpick who was going to be taking after him. I can't remember their names, but they have written episodes for the show already. So hopefully we'll get the same level of quality. And it looks like we may be getting that as well with, you know, those two showrunners in charge. But anyway, you guys tell me, what do you guys think of Daredevil getting a second season? And more importantly, who and what do you want to see more in this season? Do you guys want to see more hand stuff? Do you guys want to see more gritty crime type storytelling? And what characters do you want to see, like Mr. Fear, Gladiator, the Owl? Hell, do you even want to see Stiltman? There was a reference to Stiltman in one of these stories. But anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys later.